quick review of Chapter 3. So the acronym for Chapter 3 was TREE. We talked about Falgu Vairagya and Real Vairagya, how Arjuna was prematurely trying to become a Brahmana or a sannyasi by talking about going away to the forest. Such kind of renunciation that is used as a means to escape one's personal responsibilities and duties is called a false renunciation. So even to renounce your duties and responsibilities, you have to qualify yourself, you have to practice. So the difference between true renunciation and false renunciation is something that we looked at. True renunciation is doing everything to please Krishna, being attached to your duty and being detached from the results. That is actually true renunciation. False renunciation is running away from your duties and responsibilities because you find it uncomfortable to address those duties and responsibilities. So this chapter is titled Karma Yoga, and karma means what is your duty. And one of the things that we first learned is that in Shloka 9, I believe, Lord Krishna says that our duty is to perform our work as a sacrifice for Vishnu. So if we don't perform our duties and responsibilities as a sacrifice for Vishnu, Krishna says we are causing our work to entangle us further in this material world. So this is a very important shloka for us, a very important instruction. So we said the single word summary for chapter 3 is duty. Once your identity is established, then the next thing is you need to know what are you supposed to do. And the very first thing Krishna is saying is you have to perform your work as a sacrifice to me. Otherwise, any work that you do is going to cause karmic reactions. So you can see here, even in Shloka 8, Krishna says, perform your prescribed duty. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So Krishna is saying all of us are forced to work. We don't have a choice. But we have to work as a matter of duty. And more importantly, when we are working as a matter of duty, we have to do it as an act of sacrifice for Vishnu. It doesn't mean that if you work and let's say you're making nice money, you're in a nice position, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to enjoy the fruits of your work. Of course, you can enjoy the fruits of the work. But the work itself has to be performed responsibly as a sacrifice for Vishnu. And as we discussed, even for practicing charity, the best way one can practice charity is to offer charity in the name of the Lord, to make sure that whatever you're giving away and charity has been offered to Vishnu. The other way in which you can purify your earnings is make sure a certain small percentage of your earnings is offered in the service of Krishna. That way the rest of your earnings are purified and therefore there is no karmic reactions because of your paycheck that you're getting every day. So like this, in small ways and big ways, we can make sure that everything that we do is actually being done to please Vishnu or Krishna. If we are interested to be free from the traps of karmic reactions. So for a devotee, we don't want to make punya and we don't want to make papa also. We are only interested in what is called sukriti. We'll talk about it today, a little later, when we come to chapter 4. So we don't want to deposit anything in the papa account and we don't want to deposit anything in the punya account. Because if you deposit in both those accounts, you have to take birth again. And there's no guarantee that you will have a human life. Of course, if you accumulate a lot of punya, then definitely you will take on a human form. It may not be in this material world of Bhuloka, it may be in Swargaloka or the upper planetary systems. So for a devotee, we are interested in the concept of Sukriti. You get Sukriti when you perform a karma. You perform a karma when you do everything for the pleasure of Vishnu and not for the pleasure of yourself. So Krishna has also talked about how we need to regulate our activities. Everything that we do needs to be done in a manner that we are not causing karmic reactions. So if you really look at that karma yoga ladder, which started with karma kanda, then it went to sakama karma yoga, then the next rung was nishkama karma yoga. So, but below that ladder are these two, the sinful and sinless and godless. What does that mean? There are a certain section of people in society who do not believe in following the scriptures. They may be very good human beings otherwise. They may be good people. But if they are not following the scriptures, they are considered to be sinful. I am not saying this. Lord Krishna is saying this in the Bhagavad Gita. He considers those who do not follow scriptures to be sinful. And then there is the sinless and godless. So there is a set of people who are good people who don't believe in God. Actually, sorry, the sinful is those who completely believe they can do whatever they want, they can live life however they want, they don't have to follow Shastra at all. That is sinful. The sinless and godless are the good people that we talked about. But because they don't believe in Shastra, they don't believe in God, they are also outside that ladder. So there is no yoga for them. The word yoga means actually state of mind, steadiness, union with God. Ultimately, that's what yoga means. Yoga means union with the divine. So those who are sinful and those who are sinless and godless are not united with God. So that means they are nowhere on that yoga ladder. They are outside that ladder. They have not even put a foot in that ladder yet. So you put your foot in that ladder by starting with karma kanda. So it's okay, even if you have material desires, you can fulfill those material desires by following karma kanda section of the Vedas. Here you will perform a lot of rituals to get whatever it is that you want, and you will avoid committing papa. So this is karma kanda. Karma yoga is actually sakama karma yoga or nishkama karma yoga. In sakama karma yoga, you are attached to the duty and you're attached to the results. You want to enjoy the results. In nishkama karma yoga, you're attached to the duty, but you reject or give up the results for the sake of society. So generally this nishkama karma yogis are performing a lot of selfless service, but as per shastras, not outside the boundaries of shastras. So if we want to move from, the duality that we experience in this life is happiness and sorrow, anticipation and disappointment, anger and excitement. So if we want to avoid these kind of very strong experiences of duality, then we have to regulate our activities. And we discussed that regulating our activities means chanting, reading the Bhagavad Gita, associating with devotees, changing your diet, participating in deity worship, doing some deity seva, etc. So these are all considered regulated activities. And then Arjuna asks a question, why is it that sometimes, even though we know what is right and wrong, we seem to be compelled to do something that we shouldn't do? And in response to that question, Krishna says it is actually lust. Kama esha, krodha esha. So it is lust only that acts as a nitya vairi. It's an eternal enemy for a human being, which means as long as we occupy a human body, it's going to be our enemy. So how do you identify where this enemy is existing? The enemy has invaded the subtle body. So the senses, mind, and intelligence is where lust is residing. So Krishna says, okay, so now that you know where the hiding place is for this lust, then you can address your senses. How can you address your senses? Your eyes can watch Krishna movies, or your eyes can go to the temple and take darshan of the Lord instead of your eyes watching pornography. So that's how you regulate your senses. Your nose should smell the incense that is burnt in the temple. Your nose should smell the tulsi leaves and the flowers that have been at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Similarly, your mouth should honor prasadam. As far as speech goes, your mouth should be engaged in Krishna Katha and not in prajalpa. Prajalpa means talking nonsense, talking ill of others. This is called prajalpa, is useless conversation. So this is how you regulate your senses. Your ears should hear Krishna Katha. Your ears should hear Harinam Sankirtan. It should not be hearing some nonsense on TV. So this is how one regulates one's senses. So how do you regulate your mind and intelligence? By reading scriptures, by accepting a guru, by serving a guru, you can regulate your mind and intelligence. So this was the summary for yesterday's chapter. We did talk about the karma tank, the inlet pipe and the outlet pipe, how as long as we are occupying a human body, the inlet pipe is open and we determine the rate at which the water tank is filling up. Whereas the outlet pipe, which determines the prarabdha karma that we come in this birth with, is determined by Krishna. And we also said, if we surrender to Krishna and become a sincere devotee of Krishna, then he can change your destiny even in this life. He can alter your prarabdha karma. Therefore, we say devotees, if you're a sincere devotee, you need not consult an astrologer, because astrological charts will not work if you have surrendered to Krishna, because Krishna can alter your destiny. Therefore, in that sense, the astrology chart is of no use. Consulting an astrologer should be avoided if you're a devotee. Of course, even devotees do consult astrologers because after all, we are not pure devotees. We are practicing what is called mixed devotion. Our bhakti is not pure. We are just neophytes. But because our bhakti is not pure, it may be tinged with material desires. But there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're doing everything to please Krishna, there's nothing wrong in that. So this is actually Karma Yoga. So the way chapter 3 ends is, because there's always a connection between the last shloka and the first shloka of the following chapter. So Krishna is saying in chapter 3, thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, when you practice Krishna consciousness, you will start developing another strength that is called spiritual strength. With that spiritual strength, you can conquer the insatiable enemy known as lust. But to develop that spiritual strength, you have to engage your mind in deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna is saying, which is you have to expose yourself more and more to Shastric knowledge. The more you expose yourself to this Shastric knowledge, then you will achieve some level of spiritual strength and you will be able to resist temptations. So when you're not a devotee, you succumb to so many temptations. But when you become a practicing devotee, you will achieve strength to resist temptations. So there are a lot of devotees who will not eat outside food. They will not go to any hotel and eat food unless there is really no other option, because they are able to restrict their senses and they know the pitfalls of allowing the senses to do whatever it wants. So the best way to control the senses is, the first thing you have to do is control the mouth, Krishna says. We have to control the tongue. There are two ways in which we control the tongue. We control the tongue by restricting it, by giving it only prasadam. 3 meals a day, all should be prasadam. The other way in which we restrict and regulate the tongue is by using the tongue to chant the holy names of the Lord, by using the tongue to preach, by using the tongue to do kirtan, by using the tongue to glorify the Lord and praise the Lord. So these are ways in which we can control the tongue. Everything, all the senses that you want to control has to begin with the tongue, because the tongue is like a snake. It is vicious. If you don't control it, it's going to create a lot of problems for you. So what is chapter 4 titled? Chapter 4 is titled, let's see, where is that table? Transcendental Knowledge. In Sanskrit, the chapter title is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And the single word summary for today is knowledge. Now that you know that your fundamental duty is to work as a sacrifice for Vishnu, essentially Krishna is saying, work for me. Do not work for yourself. If you work for me, it is akarma. If you work for yourself, it is karma and vikarva. So in order to work for Krishna, if we accept that that is our primary duty or job description as a human being, if our primary job description is to work for Krishna, then we have to qualify ourselves to work for Krishna. We need to acquire some knowledge to understand why we need to work for Krishna. So hence, this chapter is called Transcendental Knowledge. Transcendental knowledge means knowledge of self, knowledge of super self, and understanding the relationship between the two. Which means, while the chapter primarily focuses on the super soul and the role of the super soul, we are related to that super soul. We are part and parcel of that super soul. So we need to understand who we are as Jivatma. We need to understand who is Bhagavan or Paramatma. And we need to understand what is this relationship between the Paramatma and the Jivatma. Hence, this chapter is called Transcendental Knowledge. So Krishna is saying, if you develop this knowledge about yourself and the Paramatma and understand the relationship between the Jivatma and Paramatma, then you have come to the spiritual platform. You have the knowledge to perform your duty perfectly. So we all have to have skills to perform ordinary work, right? So similarly, what is the knowledge that we need to perform our duties as a sacrifice to Vishnu is actually what is going to be discussed in chapter 4. So chapter 4 is titled Transcendental Knowledge. What's the meaning of the word transcendental?
Divya Gyan.
Divya Gyan, okay. Knowledge of the divine, shall we say? Knowledge that is beyond the material world.
Transcends all borders. It transcends all borders.
It transcends the material world. Transcendental means something that goes beyond the body, something that is on the spiritual platform. Hence, it's called transcendental. So this knowledge is not mundane knowledge that Krishna is going to talk about here. It's not about how to make a telephone or how to repair a laptop or whatever it is. It's not knowledge based on the 5 elements. This knowledge is about divinity and the Jivatma's relationship with the absolute truth. Hence, it's called transcendental knowledge. Let's offer our respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So in this chapter, Krishna is going to talk about this eternal knowledge. Essentially, he's going to talk about himself, but he'll talk about himself in the third person as Supersoul, as Paramatma. And how a proper understanding of the relationship between the Paramatma and Jivatma can help us perfect our lives. And Krishna in this chapter will talk about akarma. So as I said, devotees are interested in only performing akarma, which means everything that we do, if we do it to please Krishna, there is no karmic reaction. So only thing we are accumulating is sukriti. We have permanently shut off that inlet pipe. We're only experiencing in this life whatever is that outlet pipe, and if Krishna is merciful, he can wipe out what is left in the tank, and we need not take birth again. We can go back to him in this life itself. So this is a karma. And then finally, surrender to Guru. So it's in this chapter Krishna talks about the importance of approaching a Guru and serving a Guru. So let's see, transcendental knowledge. So in chapter 3, Krishna has said, work for me, don't work for yourself. But then to work for Krishna, we need knowledge about Krishna and we need knowledge about ourselves. So where does this transcendental knowledge come from? Krishna will say in this chapter, the transcendental knowledge itself comes from Krishna himself. He establishes this transcendental knowledge. He transmits this transcendental knowledge. So one more question is answered. How should we receive this transcendental knowledge? What is the proper process to receive this divine knowledge? Do we have to go to school? Can we just purchase the Bhagavad Gita and read it on our own? Should we attend classes? How should we receive this transcendental knowledge? And in that regard, Krishna will say, through disciplic succession, and therefore he will talk about the importance of Guru. One should never touch the scriptures without hearing the scriptures from Guru first and reading the scriptures under his or her guidance. So how is this transcendental knowledge received? Rather, who is qualified? Can anybody read the Bhagavad Gita? Can anybody read the Bhagavatam? Can anybody access the scriptures? Krishna has a very interesting answer in this chapter. He says only those who are his devotees should read this. Only those who are his friends should read this. So he is placing a restriction on who can read the scriptures. He's saying you can read these scriptures and you can start receiving this knowledge if you have accepted me as the Supreme Lord. It's an unfortunate thing in our culture today, in modern day society, that anybody can pick up the Bhagavad Gita and write a commentary and conduct a class. They don't understand that Krishna has prohibited that. If they truly read the Bhagavad Gita, they would not do it. You will simply rely on commentaries already provided on the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam by self-realized souls. So Krishna is saying we have to learn from self-realized souls. Therefore, it is not advised to read scriptures independently. Even though we have the free will and we can do it, if we want to do it, we can do it. But Krishna is expressing his desire here. So who can receive this knowledge? Someone who is his devotee, someone who is his friend. What is the process for receiving this knowledge? Through Guru Parampara. It has to come down in Guru Parampara. So we'll talk a little bit about Guru Parampara today. What is the result? So let's say you're attending classes that's coming in the Guru Parampara system. You have accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You want him as a friend in your life. And you've started studying the scriptures by attending these classes. What is the result that you're going to get? Krishna says the result is that it eliminates avidya. It eliminates ignorance. We may all think I am very intelligent, I am very bright, all this, that, and the other. Your material qualifications don't matter one bit when it comes to Shastras. Doesn't matter whether you're PhD or a lawyer or whatever, CEO. Those qualifications do not count for spiritual knowledge. What counts for spiritual knowledge is that you have accepted a guru and submissively hearing from Guru, learning from Guru, right? This is the process. So Krishna begins this chapter by saying, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivashwan, and Vivashwan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So Krishna is saying, when was the first time that he spoke the Bhagavad Gita? He spoke the Bhagavad Gita many millions and billions of years ago. When he spoke it to the sun god. The sun god name is Vivashwan. Vivashwan then instructs it to Manu. Manu then instructs it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is the Surya Vamsha, one of the kings in the Surya Vamsha. So Lord Ram comes in the Surya Vamsha. Then Krishna says, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. And the saintly kings understood it that way. He's not just saying kings. Krishna is using the word Raja Rishi. Saintly kings. In those days, the kings were well versed in Shastras because they surrounded themselves with Brahmanas who would always advise them on how to do proper governance as a king. And then Krishna says, but in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So Krishna is setting the stage for why he's getting ready to speak it again here on this battlefield in Kurukshetra, which means the science of this transcendental knowledge of who is the Supreme Lord, who is the Jivatma, what is the relationship and what is the duty of the Jivatma to the Paramatma, Krishna is saying has been lost. Therefore, he comes personally to re-establish it. That very ancient science of the relationship. So Krishna is talking about that science. He uses the word science. This is a science. This is not some sentimental thing. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of the science. So Krishna is saying those who are not his devotees cannot understand. They can try to read it as much as they want, but they will blunder and then speak some nonsense also in society and end up misleading society also when they interpret it in their own way. So the best way to learn the scriptures is to become a devotee of Krishna first. So then Arjuna is a little curious. He says, wait a minute. Vivashwanto, he was there millions and billions of years ago. I thought you and I are the same age. It was said that Krishna and Arjuna would have been in their 90s or 100 years old at least when they were fighting on this battle. Krishna had grandchildren and great-grandchildren when he was there on this battlefield. So Arjuna is asking, how is it that you spoke to Vivashwan? I thought you and I are the same age. So at that time, Krishna says, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. So Krishna says, I keep coming, you keep coming. I keep coming in my various incarnations. I remember everything that I did. I remember everything that everybody else also did and will do in the future and are doing currently right now. And then the Lord says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all the living entities, so see, he is establishing his position. In Chapter 2, Krishna establishes Arjuna's identity. In Chapter 4, Krishna is establishing his own identity for Arjuna. What is he saying? Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. And then the very famous shlokas, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. So that's how chapter 4 begins. So the summary for today's chapter is years. So throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will talk about the importance of hearing. He'll tell Arjuna, listen carefully, I'm ready to speak something for you. Ramesh Prabhu, can you put everybody on mute because I don't have access to that button. So Krishna emphasizes throughout the Bhagavad Gita about the importance of listening attentively. When Shastra is being spoken, you have to be attentive. So Krishna says, I'm getting ready to speak this eternal knowledge because this knowledge has been lost and I am going to speak it to you, Arjuna. And how does one understand and receive this knowledge? And through this knowledge and through the relationship, how do we know what is a karma? And then finally, how do you surrender by taking up the shelter of a guru? So this is years. So Krishna has said that this knowledge originates from him. And the Parampara system he's talking about is from Vivashwan to Manu to Ikshvaku. It's come on down from there. But somewhere that chain breaks because of degradation in dharmic principles in society. When dharma breaks down, Krishna says, I come down. Why does he come down? He comes down to protect his devotees, to destroy the demons, and to re-establish dharma. So these are the reasons why Krishna comes. Who can acquire this knowledge? Krishna says, as long as you are my devotee and my friend, this knowledge you'll be able to understand. If you are not my devotee and you're not my friend, you can try to read it. It'll be more of a mundane literature for you, but you will not see it as transcendental knowledge. You will just see it as another mundane knowledge. And that is risky. So the qualifications to receive this knowledge is we need to become a devotee of Krishna. And How should we receive it? In the parampara. From who should we receive it? There is this particular mantra in the Padma Purana that talks about the 4 sampradayas, the Vaishnava sampradayas. So any mantra that does not come in disciplic succession is considered to be fruitless, which means if you read the Shastra on your own, outside the Parampara system, you're wasting your time. There's no benefit for you of reading that Shastra. Therefore, 4 divine individuals will appear in the age of Kali to found disciplic schools. There's a prediction in the Padma Purana about 4 great acharyas who will come to establish the study of Vedic scriptures, specifically the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, 4 divine individuals will appear in the age of Kali to found disciplic schools. The founders of these 4 Vaishnava sampradayas are Lakshmi, Devi, Brahma, Rudra, and the 4 Sanaka Rishis. And the acharyas of the Kali age who follow their lines will appear in the holy city of Purushottam in Orissa. So in the Padma Purana it is stated there will be 4 Vaishnava sampradayas established in Kali Yuga. These all originate from great personalities. One such personality is Lord Brahma. But Lord Brahma himself has not come down in Kali Yuga here. He has sent a great Acharya. Does anybody know who is the Acharya for Lord Brahma, representing Lord Brahma? Who's the Acharya? Who's very well known. He comes in the Brahma Parampara.
Daksha Prajapati.
Daksha Prajapati? No. Anybody else? It's Madhvacharya. So the 4 acharyas are Madhvacharya representing. See, these 4, Lakshmi Devi is always worshipping Lord Vishnu. Lord Brahma is always worshipping Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is always worshipping Lord Vishnu. And the 4 Sanat Kumaras, who are the sons of Brahma, are also always worshipping Lord Vishnu. So they established their paramparas in the Kali Yuga by sending their representatives. So Lord Brahma's representative is Madhvacharya. Who is Lakshmi Devi's representative? Acharya?
Ramanujacharya.
Ramanujacharya, yes. So Ramanujacharya represents the Shri Sampradaya. Hence it's called Shri Sampradaya. Then Lord Shiva also sends his disciple to establish the worship of Vishnu. And that Acharya's name is Vishnu Swami. And then the Sanaka Rishis send their disciple to establish the worship of Vishnu in the age of Kali. And their Acharya, the Acharya's name is Nimbarka Swami. So these are the 4 Acharyas: Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami Acharya, and Nimbarka Acharya. These are the 4 Acharyas who are coming from disciplic succession. From Lakshmi Devi herself, from Lord Brahma himself, from Lord Shiva himself, and from the Sanat Kumaras. So they establish this Parampara system in Kali Yuga. Parampara for the purposes of studying scriptures. So where does ISKCON fit in?
Madhavacharya.
Sampradaya.
Gaudiya.
So this transcendental
Madhvacharya.
Madhvacharya, yes, Madhvacharya Sampradaya, yes. So we call ourselves Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are adding one more word called Gaudiya. What does this Gaudiya mean? Madhvacharya spoke about the importance of worshipping Lord Narayana. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself, comes in Kali Yuga, he establishes the worship of Radha Krishna. One of the names of Radha, Srimati Radharani, is Gauri. Gauri means she's molten complexion. She's the color of gold. Hence, she has another name of Srimati Radharani is Gauri. And those who are worshippers of Srimati Radharani, we call ourselves Gaudiyas. Hence, our name, technical name for us is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So ISKCON falls under this particular Sampradaya. We are actually worshippers of Srimati Radharani. You may ask, we talk Krishna all the time. We rarely talk about Srimati Radharani. So why are we saying we are actually worshippers of Srimati Radharani? I will let you in on a secret. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that we are reciting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The word Hare is another name for Srimati Radharani. Krishna is, of course, Krishna himself, the all-attractive one. The word Rama means enjoyer. It's another name for Krishna because he is the ultimate enjoyer. So both Krishna's name and Rama's name are one and the same. But why is Radharani's name is in the Maha Mantra? So when we recite the Maha Mantra, the translation of this mantra is as follows. My dear Srimati Radharani, just as you are the most perfect transcendental devotee of Lord Krishna, and you are always engaged in serving Krishna. That's how you exhibit your love for Krishna, by always serving. Similarly, won't you please engage us in the service of your dear Lord Krishna? We cannot approach Krishna directly. Somebody has to introduce you to Krishna. Guru introduces you to Krishna, and then Krishna accepts you. But if you want to become a pure devotee, Srimati Radharani has to introduce you to Krishna. And she's very strict. She has very high standards. So when we are reciting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we're actually begging and pleading with Srimati Radharani. You would have heard many pastimes of all of the gopis serving Krishna in Vrindavan. All of the gopis, what are they doing? They are helping Srimati Radharani serve Krishna. They don't serve Krishna directly. They serve Lord Krishna through Radharani. So essentially, Radharani's duty is to engage us somehow or the other in the service of Krishna. So she's the one who assigns, go do this for Krishna. Go cook this for Krishna. Although she herself cooks every day for Krishna. Make a garland for Krishna. Do this for Krishna. Do that for Krishna. So those duties and responsibilities are assigned to you in the spiritual world. When you go back to the spiritual world, you are getting your duties and responsibilities from Srimati Radharani. She will tell you what you need to do. So hence, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Sampradaya. So all the way we can trace our lineage to Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Obviously, there are breaks here. So this is listing out the very important Acharyas in this disciplic succession. So now you know there are 4 Acharyas, 4 Vaishnava Acharyas, 1 originating from Lakshmi Devi, 1 originating from Lord Brahma, 1 originating from Lord Shiva, and 1 originating from the Sanat Kumaras, the 4 sons of Brahma. Why do we need parampara? Because parampara actually helps you preserve the purity of the teachings. The principal teachings are the same in the parampara. And then the purpose and the mood are also preserved of how we worship Krishna. The third protection is that in the parampara, we don't have any need to interpret the scriptures for our own selfish motives. Hence, if you notice, the Bhagavad Gita that we use, that Srila Prabhupada has written detailed commentary on, is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. When Srila Prabhupada writes this Bhagavad Gita commentary, in India as well as all over the world, there were already many books written on the Bhagavad Gita, including by politicians, philosophers, you name them, whoever. Without Guru, people have written commentaries. And Prabhupada realized that a lot of those commentaries were absolutely bogus, not based in scriptures, not based in Acharya's teachings, not based in Parampara. So a lot of the commentary today that you find on the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or Ramayana or Mahabharata, anybody and everybody just reads and writes commentary and they suddenly become experts. That is actually an offense against Krishna. That's the worst kind of offense that we can commit against the Lord, is to give some mundane interpretations to scriptures. Interpretations has to come from the Acharya. Because Krishna is saying, I myself reveal this knowledge. If Krishna has revealed this knowledge, why would you go around interpreting it? So there is transparency. Whatever Krishna wanted to convey, the Acharyas will convey the same thing to you and me. There is no need for interpretations. And when it comes from the Parampara system, it is easy to learn, follow, and preach and practice. What is this knowledge about? We already discussed. This knowledge is about the self. Who am I? This knowledge is about the Supreme Lord and his opulence. And then what is the relationship between these two personalities, the Jivatma and the Paramatma? So in this chapter, Krishna is going to tell us what is his position and what is our position. What is his activities? What are our activities? And if we understand his nature and his activities, how does it actually purify us? So we'll just read 9 and 10, shall we? So in Shloka 9, Krishna is saying, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, Arjuna. Krishna is saying, just accepting me as a Supreme Lord and understanding that I come to perform my Leela. Just knowing this alone, you don't have to be an expert in Shastra. What is Krishna saying the benefit? You don't have to take birth again. Simply accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord and understanding his divine nature. Just that alone, Krishna is saying, upon leaving this body, you don't have to take birth again. Could it be any easier? When things are so easy, we find it difficult to follow. That, unfortunately, that's the reality. Then Krishna says, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me, prema. They got Krishna prema, which is the ultimate goal. Satyakumar Prabhu was asking the other day, we are anxious for progress. There is actually a very systematic way where you can track your progress. I didn't mention it the other day, but the Nectar of Devotion talks about it in detail. Your journey to achieve Krishna Prema, which is your ultimate goal, begins with Shraddha. Shraddha means just having a little bit of faith that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that's enough. Then after Shraddha, what is the next step that you need to engage yourself in? You need to do Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha means associating with like-minded devotees who are also worshipping Krishna. What's the third step? The third step is called Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means you will start practicing sadhana under the guidance of senior devotees, under the guidance of Guru. So if Guru says wake up early in the morning, come for chanting, attend Mangalarti in the temple if you live close to the temple, then that's what you'll do. So this is called Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means chanting, reading, serving the deities, cooking for the deities, making garlands for the deities, stitching dresses for the deities, worshipping the deities. All of this is called Bhajana Kriya. When you do this Bhajana Kriya, you reach the next stage that is called Anartha Nivritti. Anartha Nivritti means when you're sincerely practicing your sadhana, your anarthas will go down. This is what Krishna is saying here, right? Your anger will go down, your lust will go down, your compassion will increase, your level of patience will go up, your energy level will go up, your negativity will go down, your positive outlook on life will improve. This stage is called Anartha Nivritti. After Anartha Nivritti, you come to the stage that is called Nishtha. Because you experience the benefits of practicing sadhana, your faith now becomes firm. So from Shraddha, you've come to the stage called Nishtha. Nishtha means you're firm. I am not going to give up Krishna ever. Krishna is my one and only Lord, and nobody can convince me otherwise. So this is the platform that is called Nishtha. Then you develop a taste called Ruchi. You actually enjoy chanting. You enjoy attending classes. You enjoy reading the scriptures. You enjoy being with devotees. You enjoy serving the deities. This is called Ruchi. Ruchi means you now have a taste for these things and you'll not give it up. Asakti is the next stage. Asakti means attachment. You develop a deep attachment to anything that takes you towards Krishna, and you develop a distaste for anything that takes you away from Krishna. So after this Asakti stage, you come to the stage called Bhava. In the stage of Bhava, you understand what is your relationship with Krishna. Are you his friend? There are 5 rasas that each of us are in, any one of the 5 rasas. We are either neutral towards Krishna, we see him as God and we respect and adore him, or we become his servant, or we become his friend, or we are enjoying our relationship with him as a parent to him, and finally, as his lover. So these are the 5 rasas. It's called Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and Madhuryaras. These are the only 5 rasas that you can enjoy a relationship with Krishna. So in the Bhava stage, you'll realize what's your relationship with Krishna. Where do you fall? And when you realize and work on that relationship with Krishna, you reach the final stage that is called Prema. That's what Krishna is talking about here. He's saying by practicing, by being fully absorbed in me, this knowledge of me and the service to me will get you to the stage where you'll attain Krishna Prema. So this is the journey for us to follow, from Shraddha to Prema, 9 steps to evaluate exactly where you are in those 9 steps. So there is a way you can actually scientifically measure your progress on the path of bhakti. Bhakti is a scientific process, it's not sentimental. So let's look at it. Krishna will tell Arjuna, I am eternal. I remember every time I have appeared, I remember everything that you have done. But the Jivatma does not have that same capacity. So Krishna is called Achyuta. Krishna says, I come of my own free will, which means I am not born because of karma. I am beyond karma. I am beyond Maya Dev. Atma Mayaya. So Krishna says, of my own free will, whenever I want to come, I come. Whereas when we come, we are forced out of the womb of a mother based on karma. It could be the womb of a dog, it could be the womb of a woman. So karma or Mahamaya forces us to accept a body. Whereas the Lord is saying when he comes of his own free will. For him, there is no birth, death, old age, and disease. And therefore, his body is Satchidananda, spiritual body. Actually, there is no difference between his body and his soul. In that sense, the word Advaita is used to refer to the Lord. Avyayam, the Lord says. The Lord says, I remember all of my appearances and I remember all of everyone's appearances, including a virus. But the same is not true for us. Our body is Asat, Achit, Nirananda. It's in distress. The Lord, his body and his self, there's no difference. For us, there is the difference between the body and the soul. We forget every time we change our body. The Lord never forgets. Then, of course, the Lord says why he comes. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Whenever there is a decline in religion, there is an increase in irreligion, Krishna says, I come down myself millennium after millennium. So Krishna comes once in the day of Lord Brahma. One day, 124-hour period of Lord Brahma is 8.6 billion earth years of our Brahma I'm talking about. There are billions and billions of Brahma. Each universe has a Brahma. So don't think there is only one Lord Brahma. Actually, the word Brahma is the position. It's not the name of the person. So Indra is a position. It's like saying secretary, housing secretary, finance minister, transportation minister. These are all titles. It's not the name of the person. But we think it's the name of the person. So we call Brahma, Indra, like this. Why does he come? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatushkritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Again, Krishna repeats, yuge yuge I come. He primarily comes paritranaya sadhunam. He comes to protect his devotees. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. I come to destroy the demons. Dharma samstapanarthaya. I come to re-establish dharma. So these two are very famous shlokas, 4.7 and 4.8. But 4.9 is the most important shloka for us devotees because he's giving away the secret here. Please repeat after me. Janma karma cha me divyam.
Janma karma cha me divyam.
Evam yo veti tatvatah.
Evam yo veti tatvatah.
Tyaktva deham punarjanma.
Tyaktva deham punarjanma.
Neti mameti sorjuna.
Niti mameti sojuna.
This shloka is most important for devotees because this is where the secret is being revealed. Krishna is saying, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. This is what we are interested in. Okay, we know Krishna comes, he has to re-establish dharma, he has to associate with devotees, vanquish the demons. Yes, all that is very nice. But what's most important for us is, if we have accepted Krishna as the Supreme Lord, and we understand his divinity and his position as the Supreme Lord, and we understand his leelas, then Krishna is saying, with these two things if you've done, and you've fully understood this, and your faith in me is firm, you don't have to take birth again. You can come back to me in the original realm. Then Krishna says he establishes the Varnashrama. The caste system is established by Krishna himself. And he says the reason he has done it is for proper progress on the path of dharma. So hence the caste system. Actually, we are calling it a caste system. We should actually technically call it Varnashrama. So Varnashrama exists in every society. It is not unique to India. There is an intellectual class, there is a administrative class, there is a mercantile class, and there is a labor class. Every society has all these four. And Krishna says, in a different, there's a different scripture, that the Brahmanas originate from his head, therefore intellectual capacity. The Kshatriyas originate from his upper arms, and therefore strength to administer and govern. The Vaishyas originate from Lord Vishnu's waist, therefore they are involved in activities, business related activities, earning a living, etc., and provide opportunities for others to earn a living. The Shudras have come from Lord Vishnu's lower limbs. Therefore, they are primarily there to serve the other three Varnas. No society can function without all four Varnas. It's not possible. But then, if a society degrades where there are no Brahmanas and no Kshatriyas, then literally we are like, we are operating with cut off head. That's why there is so much war, so much famine, so much difficulty, so much economic distress, so much financial distress, so much medical distress, so much disease. All of this will happen when there are no Brahmanas and Kshatriyas in society. When there is a preponderance of Shudras, there is no head. So collectively we have to suffer. So remember in chapter 3 yesterday, Krishna talked about how each of us have to follow our duties and responsibilities. If you recall from the secrets of Gita revealed, there was a particular slide. Karma, of course, has different meanings. The word karma means the actions that we perform. The karma also includes the reactions that we get. So essentially, the entire system of actions and reactions can be called karma. And then karma also references good deeds, sukarma actually. The correct title should be sukarma, but we use karma to indicate good deeds or good actions. So punya means good deeds, papa means bad deeds, sukriti means anything that you do on the spiritual realm is called sukriti. Everything that happens to us may not be good, but everything that happens can be for our ultimate good, which means there is a lesson for us to learn in everything that happens to us. There's no need to get morose about situations, about why me. Rather ask yourself, what is the lesson that Krishna is asking me to learn here? What is it that I need to take away? you know. But Arjuna's incorrect calculation was that if I fight, I'm entangling myself. If I don't fight, no entanglement. And Krishna said, no, if you don't fight, also there is entanglement. You have to, you're committing papa by not fighting because you're not doing your duty. So you're actually engaging in Vikarva by not fighting. Right? So here we talked about in chapter 3, although I didn't go over it yesterday, technically speaking, this is what Krishna was saying in chapter 3. Every one of us has to work to maintain individual order and social order. We have to work as a sacrifice to maintain cosmic order. And in that sense, Krishna talks about how if we want grains, we have to perform yajna. And yajna means sacrifice. This sacrifice pleases the devatas, and the devatas supply us with everything that we need. Rains, good weather, sunshine, moonlight, good soil, all of those things. Which means it's not just about our relationships with our family members here, or our relationships in the context of society, or our relationships in the context of a nation. We also have a relationship with the devatas, our pitrus, our forefathers, the rishis, all the other jivatmas. We are dependent on them, and therefore we are forced to perform yajna. So we have to do our duty and responsibility to maintain social order. We have to do our duties and responsibilities to maintain cosmic order. So Krishna concludes chapter 3 by saying, combat self-destructive desire by intelligence and transcendence. And that intelligence and transcendence is what is actually being covered in chapter 4. So continuing with chapter 4. So knowledge removes avidya. What knowledge removes avidya? Knowledge of Lord Krishna, knowledge of Jivatma, and knowledge of the relationship between the two. Removes misconceptions. And then the Lord says, Ye yatamam pravadyante. Please repeat.
ये यथा मां
यतमां प्रपद्ये
Tathaiva vajamyaham.
Samasattataiva bhajamyaham.
Mama vartmanu vartante.
Mama vartamanu vartante.
Manushya partha sarvashah.
Manusya partha sarvashah.
So Krishna has talked about the yoga ladder in chapter 3. He has talked about it in chapter 2. So now Krishna is saying the extent to which each one of us surrender to him, to that extent he rewards us. Which means the more we surrender to him, the more we are under his protection, the more we receive his mercy. So Krishna is saying here, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. But we need to examine this particular shloka a little bit deeper. So let's look at the yoga path. So let's say Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. These are the 4 main rungs. Within them, they may have sub-rungs. We'll not worry about that. Karma Yoga means anybody practicing the karma or following the karma kanda portion of the Vedas, their material desires gets fulfilled. Do they get Krishna? No. So different paths give you different outcomes. But Krishna is saying ultimately everybody is searching for me. But they're just going about it the wrong way. So those who are searching for happiness in the material platform are searching for it in objects. I want this, I want that, I want this. But that kind of happiness is temporary. Then the jnanis think, if I can give up this body and stop the cycle of birth and death, then that is actually Vaikuntha. The word Vaikuntha, Kunta means anxiety and Vai means without. So a place without anxiety is called Vaikuntha. So the jnanis think All I have to do is get immersed in the scriptures, and by the power of my knowledge, I can merge into the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord. When I merge in the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, there is nothing left for me to do. All my material problems have come to a stop. So this is the Mayavadi's definition of liberation, is to go into the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord. So this is the Jnana Yogis. So the Jnana Yogis are not achieving Krishna. They are stopping outside of Krishna's planet. They are great Jnanis, of course. They are not ordinary souls, but they are not devotees of Krishna. What do the yogis do? The yogis go to the forest and meditate. And what do they want to get? They want to get same powers like how Krishna has. So they get these mystic powers. Anima, Garima, Lagima, all of these things they can create. If you read the Shastras, you can read about how various rishis created planets and destroyed planets. That's how powerful they were. They can create planets. So what is the goal of a yogi of meditating on the Paramatma form? After doing all that meditation, he wants yogic powers. So obviously he's not interested in Krishna. So the outcome is different for him. But then what is the outcome for devotees? As Krishna has said, if you know me, you love me, you serve me, you surrender, you will come back to me and live with me and serve me. So which means the destination and the outcome for each of these different yogis, the Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, and the Bhakta is different. And guess which result is permanent? If you're a Karmi, you have to take birth again. If you're a Jnani, there is a risk you have to take birth again, because one day you'll get bored because you have nothing to do. And a human being is not meant to do nothing and just float in space somewhere. The yogis will get tired of their mystic powers at some point in time. And when they get tired of it, they have to come back and take birth again. So which means the only transcendentalist that gets permanent result is the devotee. That is true liberation. True liberation for us is to go back to Golok Vrindavan and to serve Krishna eternally there under the guidance of Srimati Radharani. So I will ask this question. So let's say you need to climb the top of the building. It's a 100-story building. What is the fastest way to get to the top? Obviously, a 100-story building will have an elevator. So a devotee is smart like that. If Krishna is saying, just chant my name, honor prasadam, worship me, and that's equivalent to you coming in the elevator, Arey Baba, why would I want to take the stairs? Why would I want to climb the rope outside, hanging outside the building? Of course, I can climb the rope and get to the top. But the chances of me getting to the top is slim to none, because I have to rely on my own powers and capacity to get to the top. The chances of my giving up is easy. Whereas if I step into the elevator, I just hit the 100th floor button, I'm gone to the top. So a devotee is very intelligent. He's not going to worry about Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. He could care less about all of that, because he doesn't want to waste time. He wants to get to the top quickly. He doesn't want to waste his energy. He wants to depend on the mercy of the Lord to get back to the spiritual world. So devotee means, Prabhupada says, you are intelligent. You are very intelligent. We are looking for the shortest cut to get back to Krishna. We don't believe in torturing ourselves the hard way to get to Krishna, like the yogis do or the jnanis do. We don't need to do that. That will be foolish. So Krishna talks about the Varnashrama here. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam.
Chaturvarnya
मया सृष्टं
गुणकर्म विभागशः
गुणकर्म विभागशः
तस्य कर्तारम् अपि माम्
तस्य कर्तारम् अपि मां
विद्या कर्तारमव्ययम्. Krishna is saying, according to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So Krishna is saying, this Varnashrama exists only in the material cosmos. It's not there in the spiritual world. So Krishna is first of all telling Arjuna, just because I come down here doesn't mean I am under the influence of Maya Devi. She's still very much my servant. She works according to my instructions. So what determines which Varna you are part of? Not your birth, we said, right? You have to qualify yourself. And what decides your Varna? Two things. Your occupation. I mean, are you a butcher? Are you a laborer? What are you doing? What is your job responsibility? What job are you doing? That determines which Varna you are part of. And another thing that determines your Varna is the influence of the three gunas. Which guna are you under the influence of? Are you under the influence of Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, Tamo Guna? So a combination of the influence of the three gunas plus the kind of work that we do determines which Varna you belong to. And we already discussed in Kali Yuga, most of us are Shudras. Of course, we consider ourselves Vaishnavas. We are not part of the four Varnas. We transcend the four Varnas because we have accepted Lord Krishna as a Supreme Lord. And we are trying to sincerely practice devotional service. So neither the type of work nor the influence of the gunas matters to us, devotees. As we read from the Nectar of Devotion yesterday in one of the paragraphs. So what is akarma? Kim karma kima karmeti?
किं कर्म किमकर्मेति
Avayopyatra mohitaha.
कौरव्यत्र महिताः
Tatte karma pravakshyami.
तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि
Yajñatva mokshase shubhat.
यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्.
Now Krishna is going to say here how complex karma is to understand. So if everybody can go on mute. So Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna here, understanding karma is very difficult. How it operates. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So I'm just going to talk about a little pastime here. Our Shastras say that if you kill an animal, let's say for example, if you kill a cow, the punishment for you killing the cow is that the number of hair that that cow has on its body, that's the number of times you have to take birth in the animal species as punishment. So what is that? If you kill a cow, the number of hair that the cow has on its body, that's the number of births you have to take. And you have to be killed again and again and again. That is the punishment for killing a cow, which is why we do not believe in slaughtering cows. Cows are very our Shastras say that the next body for the cow is a human body. So in the animal species, as the soul is transmigrating through various bodies, when it reaches the body of a cow, its next birth, it will take the body of a human being. So therefore, we should not give any distress to the cow. So there is a Brahmana by the name Prasridra. And he's a pious Brahmana. And his job was to take care of the cows. One night, there was a thunderstorm. And since it was his job to take care of the cows for his guru, he is standing outside holding a sword. In the midnight, he hears the roar of a tiger. So he knows that the tiger will attack the cows. So when there's a lightning flash in the sky, he sees the tiger very close to the cow. So his aim was to kill the tiger, but when he lifts his sword to kill the tiger, accidentally he ends up killing the cow. Now he is a Brahmana meant to protect the cow. Accidental death has happened. So Vashishta Muni, who is his guru, gets to know about this incident. He gets very upset with the student and curses him. And what is the curse that Vashishta gives this Prasridra? He says, may you be born as a Shudra with no knowledge of Vedic culture. Which means the Guru is saying in your next birth, you will be born as a Shudra with no knowledge of Vedic culture. That was the curse. What did Prasridra do when he heard this curse of Vashishta Muni? Remember, he is a Brahmana. He already knows the Shastra. So he leaves the ashram. He's a student in the ashram. He leaves the ashram and he immediately begins to practice bhakti yoga. Why? Because if you practice bhakti yoga, what are the chances that you'll be born as a Shudra in your next life? So he practiced bhakti yoga with such sincerity and intensity that at the time of death, he left his body and went back to the spiritual world. Meaning, Krishna can intervene in your life and change your destiny, irregardless of whoever may have made whatever curse, provided you become his sincere devotee. Sincere, practicing devotee, right? We can't say I'm just a devotee of Krishna and not do anything about it. Being a devotee of Krishna means being actively engaged in the service of Krishna, crying out to him, chanting his names constantly, listening to Harikatha, observing Ekadasi Vrat, keeping fasts, celebrating all the festivals like Janmashtami, Ramanavami is coming soon. So this is Krishna consciousness. So this Brahmana, although he had committed the offense of killing a cow, although it was accidental, and on top of that, he took a curse from his guru, because he understood the scriptures, he realized if he practiced bhakti yoga immediately, that there was an opportunity for him to negate and perform akarma. So this is akarma. Akarma meaning you do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Karma means any pious activity. So as I said, there are a lot of people who do good work in society. I remember during COVID in our very large building complex here, a lot of the society members had got together. Initially, they would buy things, cook things, and distribute it to those people who were waiting for buses to go back to their village and all of that. Definitely these are considered pious activities. But then they are also supposed to be performed as per Vedic injunctions. If they are performed as per Vedic injunctions, then you accumulate karma or sukarma, which is punya. Okay. But what is the result? The result is temporary. You will have to take birth in upper planetary systems where you will have even more luxury, longer life, more beauty, less disease or no disease, like that. Once you exhaust your credit, you have to come back again. What's the point? Hence it's temporary. What is Vikarva? Vikarma is doing everything against Shastras. Killing animals, other sinful acts, gambling, intoxication, illicit relationships, and yes, meat eating. These are the 4 legs of dharma. If they are violated, then society will have to experience a lot of distress. So Vikarma fetches you sinful reactions for which you have to suffer by going down to the lower planetary systems, including Patala, where it is considered hellish conditions happen. So what is akarma? Akarma is all devotional activities. It is done to please the Lord. It is not done for one's own gain. But that does not mean you don't enjoy yourself. You can certainly enjoy yourself. And the result is sukriti. If you've accumulated enough sukriti, you don't have to take birth again. In this life itself, you can go back to Krishna. So akarma means all acts done for Krishna. Karma means work that is done with attachment for results. Vikarma also means work done with attachment for results. What is the attitude of a karmi? There is no desire for sense gratification. The fundamental desire is to please Krishna and nothing else. Karma, the middle one, is you are performing your duties and responsibilities as per Shastra. Vikarma is against the Vedic injunctions. So the effects of performing a karma or inaction, action in inaction, and inaction in action, that's what Krishna calls it. They enjoy transcendental happiness. So this is the difference. So now we'll come to the last section of the chapter 4. Tadvidhi pranipatena
Tadvidhi pranipatena
pariprashnena sevaya
pariprashnena sevaya
upadekshanti te jnanam
upadeshanti te jnanam
jnaninastattvadarshinaha.
jnanina sattvadarshina.
So here Krishna is telling Arjuna, how can you acquire this knowledge? Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So Krishna is again giving one more instruction, one more duty for us. What is the duty? We have to approach a spiritual master. We have to inquire from him submissively. We have to render service to him. And because he is a self-realized soul, he can impart this transcendental knowledge because he has already seen the truth. Right? So this is the Parampara system. What is the glories of knowledge from Guru? If you get glory, so Krishna will talk about the benefits of obtaining transcendental knowledge from the Guru Parampara system. One is avidya, is uprooted. 2 is you can cross this ocean of miseries and go back to the spiritual world. 3 is you destroy all your sinful reactions, and that can be done in one life itself. So this is the glories of receiving knowledge in the Guru Parampara system. And then Krishna contrasts with those who actually want to hear this and those who have doubts. So we'll look at those 2 shlokas quickly, 39 and 40, and then we'll close it out. In 39, Krishna is saying, a faithful man who's dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace, which is liberation or moksha. And now he contrasts in the next shloka. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down, which means they become worse. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So Krishna is saying, if you don't have Shraddha and you're reading the scriptures, absolute waste of time. You will not get God consciousness. Your avidya will only grow. And then Krishna is saying, if you have any doubt at all that I exist, that I am the supreme absolute truth, forget happiness in this world. Even in next world, you'll not get happiness, Krishna is saying. Krishna is very harsh. He's always contrasting between his devotee and the demoniac. So the word Ashura means, Shura means those who worship the Supreme Lord. Ashura means those who do not accept that there is a Supreme Lord. So literally the word Ashura means someone who does not, who's an atheist essentially. So we call them in common parlance as what? Demons. So that is Krishna's opinion of demons. He calls them ignorant, faithless, doubtful, and definitely they'll not get happiness now, not also in the future. Finished. He's Katam. The story is ended there for Krishna. So Krishna is very, very clear on what it is that you have to do to achieve Ananda. So this is a quick chapter summary. We said the acronym is years. The single word summary for today's chapter is knowledge, transcendental knowledge. Who can acquire it? A devotee or a friend. How should it be received? Through the Guru Parampara system, just like Krishna establishes it. Many, many millions of years ago, we should receive this knowledge from one of the four sampradayas. If we receive knowledge from the Parampara, it removes avidya. And then Krishna talks about the Varnashrama, why it was established and what's the benefit of it. Krishna again talks about the difference between karma, akarma, and vikarma, and he encourages Arjuna by becoming his devotee to always be performing a karma. And then the glories of surrendering to a guru, accepting a guru, serving a guru, surrendering to a guru. And then Krishna ends this chapter by saying, those who have faith, they will quickly make progress and eventually come back to me. Those who have doubts and those who don't believe in the scriptures, those who don't believe in me, well, good luck to them. That's what Krishna is saying. So we'll stop here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki jai jagat guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.